How did Christianity start and why don't Jews believe in it? So I'm going to let these two scholars talk to you first, and then I'm going to sum it up, and there we go.
Christianity began as an alternate vision for how the Jewish faith is to continue. That vision centered on the totally counterintuitive notion of a crucified and then raised Messiah. That belief led to the early Christians, who were Jewish, to reframe their entire tradition.
Do you ever wonder why there's four Gospels in the Bible? So the short answer is that they're all telling the same story, but from different perspectives. Let's break it down. Matthew, Jewish man writing to a Jewish audience. Mark, Jewish man but writing to a Roman audience. Next is Luke. He was not an eyewitness. The Apostle John wrote his gospel with a clear goal of evangelism.
Let me quickly put this in historical context. In the first century, there was a Herodian dynasty that was ruling the Judean Jewish kingdom over there. However, they were a vassal to the Roman Empire. As the later Herods took the kingdom, they were weaker and weaker, and the Romans came stronger and stronger. They started outlawing Jewish practice. There was a rebellion by the Jews in 66. Vespasian came to quell it under the Emperor Nero. Nero went crazy. There was the battle for the emperorship, and Vespasian actually won it. He sent his son Titus to quell the rebellion, which he eventually did in 70. At this point, there was a interest in the Jews to survive, even if their temple was not going to survive. The temple was their center of their heart and their soul for 1,500 years between the Mishkan, the first temple, and the second temple periods. Therefore, they needed something that would help the Jews survive, keeping their religion in exile. There were different factions. The Sadducees very quickly fell off because they were tied specifically to the temple, and without the priestly practice, they were nothing. The Pharisees, they were the majority in the Sanhedrin, and they had laws to help keep the Jews keeping their religion, even if it was going to be in exile. Then there was another sect that sprang up, and those were the Nazarites. Now, they followed the Galilean rabbis, who were much more liberal, and they said it's not as important to keep the specific rules of the Torah as it is important to keep the general purpose of being good people and following God. And that's where Christianity came from. Now, most of the Jews did not follow Christianity, and there were lots of slaves and other people who were oppressed in Rome and elsewhere who actually found it to their liking. So slowly, Christianity became a Gentile religion, while the Pharisees created the Orthodox Jewish religion. This was a very, very summarized history, but I hope it helps.